My name is Nadia Romero. I'm the Senior Grants Manager at the Parkinson's Foundation, and I oversee the Community Grants Program and review process. Through suggestions and inquiries from the community, the Foundation decided that it will be a great opportunity to hold a webinar to help guide and provide tools for potential applicants on ways to submit successful applications. Before we begin, I would kindly ask you to please take a look at the housekeeping items on the screen. The webinar will be recorded and posted later on our website. We ask you to please mute your phones and hold all questions at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, on the bottom of your screen, there is a button that says chat. You may submit your questions through there. If you join us using your phone and cannot submit your questions through the chat box, you may submit them post-webinar at programs@parkinson.org. In this webinar, we'll be discussing important information pertaining to the grant opportunity. We will provide an overview of the Parkinson's Foundation, about Parkinson's disease, key information about the grant opportunity, which will focus on the award details, application, review process, tips for your application, and useful resources to help you with your application. We encourage you to take notes, and if you have any questions, again, feel free to submit them through the chat or post-meeting at programs@parkinson.org. About the Parkinson's Foundation. The mission of the Parkinson's Foundation is to make life better for people with Parkinson's disease by improving care and advancing research toward a cure. In everything we do, we build on the energy, experience, and passion of our global Parkinson's community. To date, 1 million Americans are living with Parkinson's. The Foundation is driven to ensure that everyone in the community has what they need to have a better quality of life with Parkinson's. By doing so, the Foundation focuses on collaboration, evidence, and the impact we provide to the community. The Foundation serves people with Parkinson's in many ways. We focus on the need of the community for today, for tomorrow, and for everyone. We want to be able to change the lives of those affected by Parkinson's by providing resources that engages them and makes an impact in their lives by improving outcomes and quality of life. We serve people with Parkinson's through major Foundation initiatives, such as providing care at the Centers of Excellence, providing information about Parkinson's, advancing research to better understand the disease, and through our helpline of trained nurses, social workers, and therapists, with a goal of building on the energy, experience, and passion of our Parkinson's community. What is Parkinson's disease? The Community Grants Program is designated for people with people with Parkinson's disease and their families. Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative brain disorder that progresses slowly in most people. It is the most common neurodegenerative disease in the world after Alzheimer's. It is a disease that affects people's ability to move. The disease was first described in the 19th century by a doctor named James Parkinson. His studies of people with Parkinson's and movement led him in naming the disease after him. An estimated 10 million people around the world suffer from Parkinson's. Getting an accurate count of the number of people living with PD is difficult. Many people in early stages of the illness assume that their symptoms are the result of normal aging or other health problems. In the United States, 50 to 60,000 new cases are diagnosed each year, and approximately 1 million Americans currently live with Parkinson's. The CDC rates complications from PD as the 14th leading cause of death in the United States. More than 23,000 people with Parkinson's die each year. Though people do die from complications of Parkinson's, most people with Parkinson's die from something else. PD affects about 1 in 100 Americans over the age of 55. While it usually develops after the age of 60, 15% of those diagnosed are under the age of 50. These individuals are considered young onset. The prevalence of PD will increase substantially in the next 20 years due to the aging population. About community grants. The Parkinson's Foundation community grants further the health, wellness, and education of people with Parkinson's disease. The community-based grants help fund education outreach programs that are impactful, sustainable, and measurable by supporting existing and pilot programs that address unmet needs in the Parkinson's community. Historically, community grants were composed of 2 grant cycles per year, where funds raised through Moving Day help expand programs into new areas, as well as pilot new initiatives into specific locations. The grant opportunity was first funded in Chicago and Miami, where the foundation funded a variety of programs that engage people with Parkinson's in a social environment and motivated them to participate in programs that help improve their quality of life. Programs such as Tai Chi, dance, art, and exercise classes were some of the first funded programs. Then, in 2019, through a strategic plan, the Community Grants Program was aligned with the Foundation's initiatives. In doing so, the program was expanded nationwide to allow rural areas to benefit from the opportunity, while at the same time create awareness of the Foundation resources, allowing us to reach more individuals with Parkinson's. The program has been in existence since 2011, and to date, we have funded 338 programs, totaling nearly $3.7 million. Due to the nature of the competitiveness of the grant opportunity, the Foundation doubled the number of applications we received in 2019 to 295 applications. We also doubled the number of applications we funded from 47 programs in 2018 to funding 118 programs in 2019. 65% of these programs are funded for the first time, awarding $1.5 million in community grants, compared to $780,000 in 2018, reaching roughly 30,000 people affected by Parkinson's. This year, we drafted the grant opportunity to follow the 2019 structure. The 2020 award details include a budget of $1.5 million for funding programs that are designed for people with Parkinson's and their care partners, for services that are offered at a reduced rate or at no cost to participants. The grant award opportunity ranges from $5,000 to $25,000 for a period of a year starting July 1, 2020 until June 30th, 2021. Primary consideration will be given to new applications that meet the request for application requirements. The Parkinson Foundation supports Parkinson-related programs. The focus areas are aligned with the Foundation initiatives. The first focus area targets programs that offer services for diverse and underserved populations. Programs should provide care, services, education, and support for populations such as services for Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, people with low health literacy, financially challenged, isolated populations, for caregivers, young onset women with Parkinson's, veterans, and LGBT community. Keep in mind that you will need to include evidence that this population is medically underserved in your application. The second focus area targets programs that reach newly diagnosed. This initiative should provide information and resources that target individuals who are newly diagnosed or diagnosed within the last 3 years and have measurable outcomes. Priority consideration will be given to those initiatives that serve and that provides evidence that individuals are seen by a community-based neurologist or a primary care physician. The third focus area is for programs that address mental health and Parkinson's. This program should provide information on ways to promote awareness, provide therapy, support education, and coping mechanisms to help improve the mental health of those individuals, their families, and caregivers affected by Parkinson's. For all the focus areas, keep in mind that you will need to provide a reference that supports your programs. This year's grant opportunity is open again to communities nationwide and will consider applications from organizations that are nonprofit, that hold a non-exempt status, or other organizations that report taxes and healthcare facilities. Keep in mind that the Foundation will be looking at programs that are offering the service to individuals with Parkinson's at a reduced rate or no cost. Individuals are not allowed to apply. However, if you're interested in piloting a program, we recommend that you partner with a community center, a JCC, or a YMCA in your community and submit a mutual agreement letter. Failure to submit a mutual agreement letter will result in a denial of your application. To obtain more information about this eligibility requirements, you may download a copy of the request for application and the mutual agreements letter at our website. Based on recommendations from the Community Grants Advisory Committee, the Foundation took a closer look at the budget eligible items, and due to the many increase, we wanted to provide a clear communication of what the Foundation will support. If you're interested in applying, the Foundation will support programmatic expenses related to your program. It is recommended that you apply for true expenses. We understand programs don't run by themselves. Therefore, the Foundation will fund facilitators, instructors, or those individuals that are providing direct support to participants. Items such as speaker fees, supplies, participant transportation, room rental for rural areas cannot exceed a certain percentage from your total budget. Keep in mind that some items might need to be pre-approved by the Foundation before you submit your application. The Foundation will not support programs with costly charge to participants. Some items not supported include capital expenses, individual memberships, accreditation, instructor training, and licensing. To review the list of the budget eligible items, please download the request for application that is posted on our website. To give you an idea of what the Foundation and the reviewers will be looking for, I'm providing you with a budget sample of made-up expenses based on successful application. This year, there will be a budget template with the application that is already set with the eligible items. However, we are asking all potential applicants to provide a budget justification explaining the requested use of funds, detailed information about the item and sections in your budget, what other sources of funding you will receive, and if there will be any in-kind contributions towards your program. This will aid in having to request for applications during the review period. This budget samples have the clear communication of what and how much is being charged to the Foundation. I encourage you to take a closer look at the non-eligible items so you can submit an acceptable budget. This year, we will no longer be using Fondant as the Foundation's grant system. The grant interface that we will be using during the application process will be Proposal Central. To apply, please visit www.parkinson.org/community-grant. And at the bottom of the page, you will find the Apply button. You will be prompted with a page that looks similar to this. You will be required to create an account. After you have selected the Create an Account button, enter your personal information. Please be sure to save your login information for future use. After you create an account, you will receive an email with your confirmation number. This number needs to be entered in the Proposal Central in order to access the application. After entering the confirmation number, the application page will show up. The application has 13 sections to be filled out by you or your institution. Be sure to enter the title of your application to avoid creating multiple applications, and attach all required documentation. The grant software will not allow you to submit until you have validated all the required fields. Please remember to save your work as you go through the application. You will also find downloadable templates in sections 2, which you may use. Once you have completed your application, print and save a copy for your records. If you need help while completing the application through Proposal Central, please contact the Proposal Central customer service number at 1-800-875-2562 or email them at pcsupport@autumn.com. The intent of this webinar is to make the process of completing your grant application easier. The following are important parts of your application that will be required to have clear information on. One of the main areas in which reviewers will be evaluating your application is if you address one of the foundation focus areas that were discussed earlier in this webinar and can also be found on the request for application document. Whichever focus area you choose, it must be discussed in your program description, evaluation plan, and should be part of your reach and impact statement. Your program description is another important part in your application, which requires you to be specific with concrete details of what you are setting out to do. It should state what is the need in your community. It should also provide information about what your program is, the background, and provide information on how you will be working, on who you'll be working with. Things such as goals, logistics, and number of people you intend to reach should also be stated in your description. Keep in mind that reviewers will be looking at many applications, and you will want to capture their interest the first time they read your application. Another important part in order to complete your grant application is your work plan. Your evaluation, evidence, and outcomes are one of the most discussed parts of your application during the review. For the evaluation, please provide the process of how you will roll out your program, the tools you will use, what metrics you will use to show success of your program, provide reasonable timelines, think about how you will market your program, and recruit individuals. In the evidence part of your application, think about the need of the program in your community. We recommend to check with your local health providers to identify the number of people with Parkinson's in your community. We also recommend visiting our website to view the statistics on PD prevalence by state. Identifying what programs are currently being offered or not offered will be essential for this part. The outcomes of your application should provide an overall summary of what you expect to accomplish as a result of your program. This should outline the program goals and how they make an impact in the community. As stated earlier, the budget should be thought out carefully to provide the foundation and reviewers with the program's true expenses. Your budget should match your work plan and should only include the eligible budget items. It should provide clear information if there will be a charge to attend the program. The number of facilitators and the amount of sessions should also be included. It must provide a budget justification with a paragraph explaining how the funds will be used and the information about other resources of funding, as well as any mentions of in-kind contributions. Lastly, for completing your application, you will want to make sure that you provide the foundation with all the required attachments. Things such as instructors' resumes and certifications will be reviewed closely. References that you support your work plan, a copy of your W-9 form, and if applicable, the mutual agreement letter for individuals forming a partnership or collaboration to start a program. Other key points we want you to consider while writing your application is to remember that reviewers will be looking for creative and innovative programs. You will want to make your application stand out and that you know your community and to be sure that your organization is a good fit for the program. We recommend that as you complete your applications that these questions are answered. How does your program address a need in the Parkinson's community? What makes your program unique? How will your program make an impact? And lastly, what is the sustainability plan after the grant period? About the grant review process. After the applications all have been submitted, the application will not be answering any questions or inquiries pertaining to the application or review process. Keep in mind that this is a competitive grant program. The review process will start after all the applications have been submitted. The due date to submit your application is January 31st. The review process is composed of 3 phases. All applications will be scored from 1 to 5, where 5 is the highest score. The first phase is the administrative review. The review is to make sure that all application meets all the criteria. It will start on February 3rd and it will end February 26th. Phase 2 is the local phase. During this review, evaluators will review the eligible applications. They will only be required to review applications in their local area and will not require to have a conference call. This review will be conducted from March 2nd to April 8th. During Phase 3, the Regional Committee reviews all applications that score high in the local phase, and then have a 90-minute call to discuss the top scoring applications by region. This review will be conducted from April 13th through May 22nd. All applicants will be notified the status of their applications by June 5th. Reviewers are selected based on recommendations from internal and external stakeholders. The committee is guided with a set of questions during the review to evaluate each application on impact, sustainability, and measurability. We hold the reviewers' confidentiality seriously, and they are all asked to sign a conflict of interest and confidentiality agreement. Reviewers are comprised of people with Parkinson's, care partners, allied health professionals, community leaders. Reviewers also include Aware and Care ambassadors, PPAC members, and research advocates. Some things to consider before you submit an application is to check that your organization is a good fit for the grant opportunity. If your application is selected, the foundation has a few grant requirements that are to be followed during the grant cycle. These grant expectations are required throughout your grant period in order to fulfill your sponsorship. We want to ensure that grantees communicate any changes to the grant proposal. We will require for all programs to keep a roster of the participants and share the list with the foundation. That the program has a clear marketing plan and that the programs acknowledge the foundation support. There will also be 2 reports that are to be completed for this grant period, and we ask to be allowed to visit your program during the grant period. These requirements offer an opportunity to look beyond an organization's grant application, to develop a deeper understanding of the project, community need, and the organization and its leadership. And as a reminder, our community grant funding is made possible through generous donors who are also people that are affected by Parkinson's. As we approach the end of the webinar, we want to provide you with a few tips that make up successful applications. The most important tip to keep in mind is to remember that your application will be reviewed by several people, and that you want to highlight your program's uniqueness and creativity, how the focus area ties into your program, that the program is reaching an adequate amount of individuals with Parkinson's, that the program is impactful, that your description is precise and clear, that your program has a strong budget, marketing, evaluation, and outcome plan, that your program fits the community you're looking to work with, that the program is offered at a low cost or no cost to individuals, and that it's exclusively offered to people with Parkinson's and their care partners. I've attached some of the resources addressed during the call for your convenience. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at programs@parkinson.org. To access or review the complete request for application, frequently asked questions, and application guidelines, visit www.parkinson.org/community grants. I'm also including the Foundation's helpline number in case you have additional questions pertaining to symptoms and about the disease. Additionally, if you have any questions while completing your application, you may call the Proposal Center customer service number at 1-800-875-2562, or you may email them at pcsupport@outcome.com.